Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting. We are glad to have you here and in good time. So I'll quickly ask Martin to pray for us, then we can kick off the meeting today.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening, giving you thanks for what a wonderful time that we've had. I pray, Lord, that as we gather here today, as we sit down and listen to what Rose will teach us on matters creating multiple streams of retirement income, I pray that, Lord, you may be with us and help us to understand these concepts, oh God, that we may use them for the greater good of the expansion of your kingdom and just being good stewards of the resources that you've given unto us. Father, we give you praise, we give you glory and honor. This we pray, believe and trust in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Martin. So as we've mentioned during the prayer, welcome all to today's session. And today we are covering creating multiple streams of retirement income. Just a few housekeeping rules. In case you have any questions, please raise your hand or type them on the chat. It will give you a chance to speak. I'll also ask you to mute yourself in case you're not speaking or asking a question. Then you'll also be launching a poll, so please share with us your response. This will help us understand you better and also help us structure the presentation to suit you. So Ross, welcome. Now over to you.
Thank you, Regina, for introduction and Martin for praying for us. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well and you've been keeping well and safe since we last met. That's about a month ago. And I'm happy that you've taken your time to come and be a participant in this webinar. I hope that time with me will be meaningful and I'll also get to learn from you as much as possible. So today is the third session of the Readers Forum. In the past, we have looked at why retirement is an important transition. And we found out that retirement is the last and potentially the longest transition. And for that reason, we need to prepare well for it. Last month, we talked about what to prepare for, and we discussed and found out that we need to prepare financially, we need to prepare socially, psychologically, physically, in all aspects of life. But having said that, then we said that most of us tend to look at financial preparation because it's what we are able to understand. But it is important that we don't forget the other aspects of retirement, of preparation, because they all help us to live a meaningful life. So today and probably the next session, we'll be looking at financial preparation, which is critical. And therefore, today I'll have a brief just introduction of the topic, and then for about 10-15 minutes, probably 15 minutes, and then we'll go into question and answers. So, when we retire from work, we don't retire from life. We just retire from work. The bills continue coming. We have to continue taking care of these bills, but the income ceases. So what then are we supposed to do? So we are supposed to prepare financially so that we're able to take care of ourselves and we don't become a burden to other people, and also to minimize stress, because if we don't have the resources that we need to take care of ourselves, we'll actually go into stress. We'll have stress, and stress will result into other expenses. We'll start getting sick and we increase our medical expenses. So today we'll basically discuss about what is it that we need to do, what do we need to prepare when it comes to finances, and we'll also look at potential investments that we can make to ensure that we take care of that. So as we proceed, I will share my slides with you, and we'll move along. Please share your questions so that at the end of the brief presentation, we can also address them. So when it comes to preparation for retirement, the most important thing is to actually, just a minute. The most important thing is to define the kind of lifestyle that we want to have in retirement. Now, if you are to determine the amount of money that you need, then defining that lifestyle becomes very, very important, because different lifestyles will demand different amount of money to maintain them. So there are 3 steps to financial preparation. Define your lifestyle. So how are you going to live? What will you do with your life? What will you do with your time? And we look at various types of lifestyles, various different people adopt. And then once you define your lifestyle, then it is important for you to estimate how much it costs to fund that lifestyle. Now, sometimes people complicate this. They're like, okay, I'm going to retire 10 years from now. I'm going to retire 15, 20 years from now. How will I know how much that lifestyle will cost? But I just try to simplify it and say, just use current expenses to start with to your investments, because once that becomes clear, then you can add other factors, for example, inflation and others, but just kind of expenses that you have today and determine what kind of lifestyle you intend to live and how much it would cost. Then once you have those figures, then you make savings so that you grow your money. If you don't invest, then it means you have to look for that actual amount of money. If your lifestyle probably for the next 25 years will cost you 10 million, then it means you need to look for 10 million. But if you start early, you can probably invest 3 million. And if you have the time, it can actually grow to that 10 million or 15 million that you want. So these are the 3 major steps. Have you defined the lifestyle that you want to live in retirement? Do you know how much it will cost you? And then from there, we can invest. Now, when it comes to lifestyles, there are various types of lifestyles people adopt. Many people, when they retire, they want to start a business. They want to become a type of an entrepreneur. Other people start a second career. They say, okay, I was a doctor in my first career, but now I want to become a lecturer or something else. Many people change completely from what they were doing. Other people just want to relax. They don't want to do anything. They just want to enjoy their family, their grandchildren. They don't do much. Others will want to start new interests and hobbies. Some people decide it is my time to play golf. Every day they have somewhere they will go and engage with other people. Some people choose to volunteer. And some of the areas that people volunteer a lot is in church. You can also volunteer in any other area, anything that you have an interest in. Some people decide it's time to travel. All those places they would have wanted to go and they could not go because they didn't have the money or they didn't have the time. So it could be local travel, it could be international travel. Some people go back to school to learn a new skill, and so that they can either venture into a second career or into business. And many of us go into farming. I chose to call it gardening, where people just spend some time in their farm, and sometimes that will generate an income or sometimes it will not. So there are various lifestyles, or you can even have a combination of these lifestyles. So for example, if you're going to have a second career, chances are that career will give you an income. Then your income needs in retirement will tend to be very different from somebody who's just relaxing and is not working and they're using their savings to fund their lifestyle or their retirement benefits. So it's important that you clarify. And of course, this can change over time, but for planning purposes, at one point you have to make a decision. Based on the information I have, I think this is the direction I would take. So what would it cost to fund your lifestyle? Now, this is just an example that I have used. And just to illustrate, for example, how would you define the cost or how would you determine the cost of retirement? So I want you to focus on the gross income is what we are trying to work out. So don't look at it from there. We'll start looking from giving, going downwards, and then we will determine the kind of income that you need. So I just assumed this is somebody who decides probably they will need to continue engaging in an income generating activity. They could be owning a farm somewhere, they want to continue farming, or they might want to start a small business or something like that. But they've probably decided or determined their giving budget. How much do I normally give on a monthly basis? So the figure there is supposed to be 10,000, not 20,000. I will explain later why it is 20,000. So for example, if you normally give around 10,000 per month, and then your living expenses you have the housing and utilities, and the main assumption I'm making at this point is that you have a debt-free home at this point. So these utilities are things like gas, electricity, water, airtime, anything that you need to run the home. So estimated to be around 20,000, you probably are paying some service charge or security or something. So roughly 20,000. Food and groceries, I'm assuming this is somebody who is living in probably with their spouse, or maybe they're single or widowed, or whatever, their kids are independent and they're living outside the home. You probably have some workers you're paying, maybe a house girl or somebody who comes to clean or somebody who comes to garden in your compound. Fuel, you're either fueling your car. I've not put a big budget, probably you're not doing a lot of travel. Entertainment, sometimes we fail to budget for entertainment, yet we always entertain people. We meet somebody for coffee, for lunch, and those kind of things. I've put a small budget, monthly budget for clothes. You might not buy clothes every month, but at one point you probably will buy clothes. For children here, it could be you want to visit your children, or there's something you want to do for your children. I've put a small budget and a miscellaneous. So assuming your living expenses are 52,000 shillings per month.
Yeah, she's able to go. There's even a pay slip.
Yes, there's a pay slip. So if your living expenses are about 52,000, that is not all the costs that you are likely to incur. So you might be having additional costs, what we call irregular expenses. So these irregular expenses are things like medical insurance you have to pay. You probably are maintaining an outpatient fund. An outpatient fund is when you decide not to buy a medical insurance for the outpatient. So you keep some money aside. And we also encourage, at that stage of life, you should be doing an annual checkup. So I've just put a rough figure there. Life insurance, if you have dependents, if you still have children who are in school, who rely on you, then it would be good to have a level of life insurance. And this time I'm talking about term assurance, a small cover that only pays in event of death, and then a last expense. And this is something I would encourage all of us to have. Nowadays, last expense products are available. Let's plan for our own funerals so that we don't have to leave burden to other people. I've put a small amount there. Probably you have a car, you need to take care of car insurance, domestic package, car maintenance. For those who have children still in school, those are irregular expenses you probably don't pay every month. Some people have memberships, they're members of a certain golf club or something. And those who want to travel, you probably have a budget, and you may have other miscellaneous expenses that come once in a while. So your irregular expenses could be something close to 1 million shillings. And these irregular expenses, you pay them at different times of the year, probably some in January, but it could be any time. But we can actually get sort of an equivalent in monthly incomes just for our planning purposes. So if this is your scenario, then it means that then you need to look for income to cover both the regular and the irregular expenses. Now, once you decide that, we've seen that the irregular expenses are coming to approximately 80,000 shillings. That means you'd have to add 52,000 to 80,000 shillings to realize what would be your monthly income needs. In this case, it would be something close to 132,000. Now, I had estimated that this person was working, retired from a career, and they had approximately 10 million in their retirement benefit scheme, and they chose to buy an annuity with 10 million. Today's rates, most of the people who are retiring today at 60, you're likely to get an income of about 100,000. So this income of 100,000 is from pension. Now, you realize that you'll still need to pay taxes on your pension, and this is an estimation because I wouldn't have the exact breakdown of your tax-free contributions and non-taxed contributions. So, but if, assuming all this income is coming from tax-free contributions, then the tax amount you'll be paying will just be about 3,700. Then for those who pay tithe on their income, that is how I got an additional 10,000 that came to giving. Then that means that from that income, you'll have a surplus of about 24,000. Now, this 24,000 will go to reduce the irregular expenses of 80,000. That means you need an additional income of about 56,000 on a monthly basis or at different times of the year to meet your irregular expenses to enable you fund your lifestyle. Now, this is where now you have to decide, how do I invest to ensure that in retirement, in addition to the 100,000 I'll get from my pension, I'll also be able to get 56,000, an equivalent of 56,000 every month, or 960,000 per year to enable me to fund that lifestyle. Then you have to look for alternative investments. And that is what we'll be looking at. What are the other possible investments that you can make to ensure that you meet your lifestyle? So I will skip that slide because we'll come to it at the end of it all. But basically, what are the common sources of income in retirement? Some people work, and this could be either you're employed, self-employed, you have an elected position, maybe you're an MP, you're an MCA or whatever position, or you've been appointed into a board of directors somewhere, or you even volunteer, but somehow you get something in return. And there could be very many options that you get. The challenge with working is that you're sort of not in full control of this. The opportunities might be there, might not be there. You're growing older, your energy might not allow you to work, or an organization you're working for, you're a member of the board of directors. There's a retirement age even for board of directors. So that is not something you can rely on. And in most cases, it will cease when you need the income most, when you're much older. For some people, the Social Security, these are government initiatives that they rely on that. Our NSSF pays very little money. I've had clients who've retired after a very, very long career, and they don't even get $500,000 from NSSF. So the income will be limited. But NHIF is also one of the ways that we use to manage our healthcare expenses. And for the very vulnerable, very, very poor people, and not all over the country, just about 4 counties, there's what we call the Old Persons Cash Transfer Program. So the government gives these people 2,000 shillings per month, and that is supposed to help them meet their living expenses in retirement. So that is for the vulnerable, not for you. Of course, retirement benefits is a major source of income in retirement. You can get it through annuities or income drawdown, or for those who access cash lump sums, then they decide they will use that to fund their living expenses. Now, in the next session, we'll go into details to understand how annuities and income drawdown work. They serve the same purpose, but they work very, very differently. So annuities will give you an income for life. Income drawdown will give you an income for a minimum of 10 years, but you can choose to extend it. But the two are different, but they serve the same purpose. And the other source of income in retirement will definitely come from investment income. So retirement benefits can be supplemented by investment income or the other way around. And when it comes to investment income, we are talking about income from interest-bearing investments such as bonds, such as fixed deposit accounts, money market accounts, any investment that gives you an interest, that can be a source of your income. Rental income for those who enjoy property. You could also get your money from dividends. You either own a business that pays you profits in form of dividends, or you have bought quoted shares in the stock exchange. And some assets, you could liquidate some assets and then you have the cash and you decide to fund your living expenses. So these are the main 4 sources of income. But for majority of you who I believe are in employment, most of you probably have an opportunity to be members of retirement benefit scheme. I encourage you to save there because one, it keeps that money fixed there until you leave employment. If you leave an employer before retirement, please refrain from accessing your retirement benefits. They will serve you best in retirement compared to any other time. You still have the energy and probably more opportunities you could take advantage of. You don't have to access your retirement benefits. So today we'll be looking at, the next session will delve deeper in retirement benefits, but today I also want to look a little bit more in regards to the other sources of retirement income. That is the interest, the rental income, the dividends, Cash is really not a form or a source of income, but when you sell assets, then you access your money in form of cash. So where do you invest your money to grow it so that at retirement you have that money? Now, retirement benefits, as the word, as they are called, they're designed specifically for your retirement. So they are actually the best avenue you can save for. Not the only avenue, but the best avenue. And the main thing is that you get tax advantages. The money you save into a retirement benefit scheme, up to a maximum of 20,000 per month, is tax-free. Any other investment, all these other investments, the bonds, the property, the shares, you actually put money that has already been taxed. So you've already lost 20, 30% of the value before you can actually get a return on it. But when it comes to retirement benefits, you save part of it, up to 20,000 as tax-free. Then it is very, very difficult for any other investment to actually catch up with that. Then the good thing about retirement benefits is that you save in manageable amounts. You save something small every month. And then the money grows through compound interest. It's a low risk investment in the sense that we have an authority that puts laws and guidelines on how you can actually invest retirement money. You cannot put retirement funds into any kind of, whatever kind of investment you want. So fund managers are restricted to where they can invest. And this is to ensure that the funds are safe, the funds are available when they are needed, and also the money is growing. So retirement benefits are one of the safest investments that you can ever have. Then once you retire, you can convert them into a regular income where you can say, I'll be getting my money annually or semi-annually, monthly, or whatever frequency you want. And you can even get a guaranteed income for life, where you know for the rest of your life, this amount of money will be coming to you. And then the good thing for especially most of you who are in employment, it is a passive investment. You don't have to do anything to ensure that the investment is generating an income. This is not Uber where you have to check on the driver. You have to maintain the car to ensure that it's bringing an income. It is passive. You just need to make your contributions, attend meetings when they are called, ask questions, challenge, and all that. That is retirement benefits. What about bonds? Bonds are normally loans that you lend either to government, we call those treasury bonds, or to companies, we call them corporate bonds. So one of the advantage of bonds is that they have potential tax benefits, especially if you're investing in government bonds and what we call infrastructure bonds. There's one that was, I think was closing yesterday or today, where you don't actually pay tax on interest. So you lend money to the government for a period of time, and then every 6 months they'll be giving you an income. And for infrastructure bond, you don't pay tax, but even for the other types of bonds, you pay tax, and the longer the bond, the longer the term of the bond, the lower the tax. So there are tax advantages you can take advantage of. For bonds, probably compared to property, you can also buy bonds in manageable amounts. The minimum amount you can invest in a bond is 50,000. I'm talking about treasury bonds, the ones you lend to the government. And if you don't have the 50,000, you can actually go still into bonds investment through fund managers by joining one of their unit trusts. They are low risk investments. You're lending money to the government. Government is one of the safest places to invest, regardless of what we know they are doing. They have various means to ensure that they pay you back the money, which includes borrowing Peter to pay John. Bonds give you a regular income in the sense that every 6 months you'll be receiving an income. Every 6 months you'll be receiving an income. You can budget for it, you can plan for it, you can use it to pay your medical insurance when it's due, or to travel. It is regular and dependable. It can also give you a guarantee. It gives you a guaranteed income in the sense that when you invest in a bond, you know the rate of return, you know the exact amount that will be coming, and that is not likely to change under no circumstances. And then at maturity, you can have your money back. You can choose to reinvest it for another period, or you can actually use it. You can leave it for as inheritance to other people, or you can use it to fund another goal that you have. So a bond, that is how it works. And it is very suitable for retirement because it gives you regular income and guaranteed income. Now let's look at property, the one we all know and understand. Property investments are good in the sense that, one, they can give you a lump sum. When you sell a piece of land or a house, you get your lump sum and then you can choose to do whatever you want to do with the money. It can give you rental income. You develop the property, you have tenants, and then on a monthly basis, you're able to collect your rent. And it also grows in value. The property grows in value. And therefore, it is one of the products that we understand and makes sense. However, property has a number of risks or a number of disadvantages compared probably to bonds and retirement benefits. One is that when you go into property, in most cases, you require a huge investment. Land doesn't cost 50,000 shillings, doesn't cost 5,000 shillings per month. You'll need to look for a big investment, which is probably not available for everyone. Property bring about a liquidity risk. Now, if you'd want to sell property to cover a medical emergency, then property will not help you. There's that risk that by nature of the product, the fact that it involves a lot of money, even the transfer process, it takes time before you can sell. So it might not serve all your needs in retirement. If, for example, you just buy land and keep it there for some time, waiting for the price to appreciate, it becomes an unproductive asset. It doesn't put money into your pocket. So there's lack of that regular income for as long as that land is not developed. And there's also the possibility of a liability where you're unable to sell. There are many people right now who are trying to sell their properties, but nobody is interested in that. So for property, it's good to invest in property, but as you approach retirement, you need to minimize or to reduce your concentration of assets in property because it might not serve you very, very well when you need it. Then, of course, for rental property, there's the occupancy risk. The fact that you have a property and you have tenants does not necessarily mean that you'll have those tenants every month of the year. You could have periods where you don't have a tenant and hence you don't have an income or your income is reduced. And then the other thing we, in most cases, fail to look at when it comes to property is that for property to continue fetching you a good income, you need to maintain it. So most of us say, once I build the house, I mean, it's just money flowing in. No, every 5 to 10 years, you need to do massive repairs to maintain the same rent. Otherwise, your income will go down. But property will normally give you capital growth. It will give you, it could give you a regular income if the property is developed, or it could even give you both. So it's one of the avenues that you can get into. The other investment that you can build is basically shares or owning a business or part of a business. So this is where you start your business, then you own 100% shares of your business and you expect a return in form of dividends, or sometimes as an employee, you can pay yourself a salary, or you could invest in shares of another company, which is either publicly quoted in the stock exchange or even a private company. So the nature of business or shares is that the potential for high returns is very, very high, but so also is the potential for losses. So the price or the value of the business could go up and down, and you could gain a lot and you could also lose a lot. You can have an income when the business is doing well, but there's no guaranteed income in the sense that when the business doesn't return a profit, then you don't have a dividend. The shares, especially the ones which are quoted in the stock exchange, are normally liquid. You can easily trade them and convert them into cash. But for those who go into business, then it means it is not a passive investment. It's something that you have to be actively involved.
Okay, so now since every cat has a new instrument,
it's important to see whether you have the time, the skill, the knowledge to actually do it or not. So business is one of the riskiest investments that you can actually go into, and especially in retirement, where you're probably coming from a totally different area, you've never done business, then we don't encourage that you put a lot of your money into business. If you really want to do business, start a small business with little money and let the business fund itself, grow with as it makes a profit, as opposed to risking all your incomes and then probably losing all of it. How then should you use those investments that we have talked about? So for instance, I'll go back to the example I had, and this is one of just an example I picked that you could use to actually fund your income needs in retirement. So for instance, if you retire at 60 today and you have a fund of about 10 million, you can actually get an income of 100,000 per month for the rest of your life, regardless of how long you live. That is what we call an annuity. You can put a minimum income period, what we call a guaranteed period, where you say, whether I live or this long or not, I would want this annuity to pay me or my dependents for a minimum of 10, 15, or 20 years. But then if you outlive that period, your guaranteed income will continue until death. Now, we saw from the example here that 100,000 is not enough to meet all your needs. So for you to be able to meet the additional needs, these irregular expenses, you needed an additional 56,000 shillings per month, because your 100,000 income was giving you a surplus of 24,000. So one of the ways you can do this, if you buy a bond based on current terms, a bond that is 6.5 million, which is giving an interest of about 12%. It's a long-term bond, so it's more than 10 years. You'll pay 10% tax on the interest. You can actually secure an income of 56,000 per month. Then that would mean that you'd be able to cover your living expenses and your irregular expenses. Now, when it comes to inflation, then one of the things we can say is that you can try to generate another source of income, or when you are able to make savings, you continue saving those ones so that they grow and they cover the potential inflation. But also when it comes to expenses, sometimes some of those things will come down. When you're in your early years of retirement, you'll probably travel every year, but probably at one point you'll drop that need. So it might cover up. That is one way. Somebody can just decide, I'll have a retirement benefit scheme and a bond to cover my lifestyle. But somebody else can decide, I will have a retirement benefit product, I will have some bonds, but I'll also put some money in a post-retirement medical fund where I can draw the premiums and also the outpatient and money for annual expenses from. So every year I will be drawing 225,000 to cover that, and the money remains invested, so it will take me much, much longer. So this is just an example. Somebody could decide, okay, I will use property, I will use bonds, and I will use a post-retirement medical. You can actually combine different things, and you are able to actually cover that. So if you need a 5 million bond at retirement, then you can work backwards and see how much do you need to save now to enable you have 5 million at age 60, which will buy a bond at that time to be able to provide you with that income. Alternatively, you can also start investing in that bond earlier. You'll benefit from the income, which will be coming every 6 months, or if you layer the bonds, you buy different bonds at different times, you can actually have a monthly income. And since you won't need that money now, you can reinvest it and keep on buying more bonds, and you keep on increasing your income. So this was just to illustrate some of the ways you can actually use your income. You can have different investments to meet your retirement needs. Now, since our needs are different, this is one of the recommendations that I would wish you could consider. You need to have at least a guaranteed source of income. So this means that regardless of what happens, whether the business is doing well or the economy is not doing well, this income is guaranteed. And one of the sources of this income is a bond or retirement benefits. And by retirement benefits, we mean annuities. So this guaranteed income can actually go to cover your living expenses and your medical expenses, which are very, very important to ensure that you live a stress-free life. And if you had any element of debt, you should try and cover the repayments from your guaranteed income. Now, for the irregular incomes, this could be things like property. I know it sounds strange to say that property is an irregular income, but think of a situation where you don't have a tenant, then it means you don't have an income that month. Then you can use that to cover your irregular expenses. Sometimes you'll have a windfall. You'll probably sell one of the properties that you had, or your children will decide to surprise you, or you'll win a lottery, I don't know. Then you can use that to upgrade your lifestyle. Maybe you want to buy a new car, you want to to change something in your home. When that money comes, you can allocate it to such things. You can also give it away to people who need it, or to your relatives, to your children. And for those who probably want to start a business, you can use that because it is a windfall. It's something that you probably did not expect. But sometimes you'll also invest and you'll also have surpluses. And this could be in form of little income on a monthly basis. One of the areas you can channel that is to giving to those who need it, to giving it to church, to continue in the kingdom work. And if you have excess resources in form of assets or income, you can also decide to channel that for inheritance, or passing it to your children, or to a specific cause that you are interested in. So basically, the most important things to look at is the whole issue of guaranteed income. That is what will give you peace of mind and will protect you from being a burden to other people. And let that come from guaranteed income. Bonds, fixed deposit accounts when you have invested and the interest is enough to cover that, and also retirement benefits. So just a recap of what we have talked about. I'm coming to the end of this presentation. It's important to think about when you're going to retire. It is important to plan your retirement date, but it's also important to recognize that you don't have the final say on that. You could lose your job, you could become, your health could be compromised, you can't continue working. So it's important to factor that. Then define your lifestyle today. Don't complicate it, just look at your lifestyle today and say, when I'm 60, will I still be paying school fees? That is an expense of, hopefully my children will be out of here. What will be my food? What will be my entertainment expenses? And then you use that to plan to see how much you need to invest to arrive at the income you need to fund that. So estimate your cost of lifestyle. Then you factor in emergencies. There will always be emergencies. We never know what will happen. So always factor in emergencies in your retirement plan, and then factor in inflation. We have data on what inflation rates have been in the past 10, 15 years. You can actually use that. Right now, the rate has been around 5%. So you can work with 5% to 7% to see how much you need. And then from there, you determine how much you need to save on a monthly basis. You identify the suitable investment tool or asset. And then at retirement, then you choose to either access your income as a lump sum, you access your benefits as a lump sum or an income. But in most cases, we encourage you to ensure that you have a guaranteed income so you can have a combination of both. You can access part of your money as a lump sum and part of it as an income. Basically, that is how you plan for your financial aspect of retirement. So it's important to recognize that everybody's retirement dream is different. Whether you are an individual or you are a couple, it will be different. So make sure that you have a retirement plan that is designed to suit your individual circumstances. Sometimes we go with what Mary is doing or what Angela is doing, and then in retirement, things are not working out. Ensure that you have your own retirement plan to suit your own needs. So basically, when I sit down with clients to help them come up with a retirement plan, all I am doing is to help them define what they want, help them clarify that, and then develop a plan on how to achieve those goals. So we'll say we'll put 20,000 shillings here, we'll need to clear this debt before your 55 years or before next year, and then we'll put this money in a post-retirement medical fund, or we'll buy an annuity, we'll buy a deferred annuity, and this is how. So I'm able to demonstrate by the end of the process that these are your goals and this is where you want to be and these are the resources that you have, and then we demonstrate how you can achieve that. So I would encourage you to prepare today for your retirement. It is never too early to start preparing for retirement. So you'll find most of that information in my retirement planning book. If you have not read it, I would encourage you to look for it. If you like a hard copy, it's available. If you like a Kindle version, it's available. And these are some of the places you can find the book. So I hope that has set the pace for the conversation on retirement income. And back to Regina for the way forward.
Okay, thank you, Rose. That was a very nice presentation, and I'm sure we've learned on the various sources on how we can get retirement income. Now I'll open this chance for Q&A. If there's anyone who has a question and you want to ask Rose directly, just unmute and ask your question, or you can raise your hand, or you can also type on the chat box your specific question, then you can get to answer those as we continue the presentation. Okay, Rose, there's a question. Which bookshops do we get the book? I think you can just highlight those ones for us.
Yeah, you can get a Kindle version from Amazon.com. If you want to visit a bookshop, a physical bookshop, you can go to the Writers Guild. They are on Hazina Towers ground floor. Or you can go to Nuria stores. They are on Moi Avenue. There's a building that has yellow and red. They're on ground floor. Then you can also go to African Book Hub on Kiambu Road. They are in the Digwa Mall. And you can also go to Strathmore University. There's a bookshop called Fontana Bookshop. You'll find the books there, the hard copies. The rest are online bookshops. We have rafubooks.com. They will deliver anywhere within Nairobi, a radius of 15 kilometers for free. We have Kusoma Lib. They also help with delivery, but at a cost. And there's also Kibanga Books. They will also deliver at a cost, but for all the bookshops, it is free within CBD. If you want to buy directly from me, you can visit our website and get to either leave your details there, or you can reach me using the following details. My screen is not moving.
Okay, I'll just post that on the chat box as we continue talking. I've also shared the image of the book. Somebody is saying, I missed the title of the book. You can just tell us the title.
The title of the book is Retirement Planning, A Holistic Guide to a Satisfying Season.
Yes, by Rose Wakiria, no one else. There's a question here from Louisa. She's asking, what about putting up trees on a piece of land? Is this a viable retirement plan?
Interesting question. One of the things that we must appreciate is that we are all wired differently. So we all have different interests. So there are people who really love farming. There are people who love property. There are people who love risk-free investments. So for you, it might be that one of the things that you'd want to do is to plant trees. And I believe there are so many people who are doing that. Now, that can work. We have no guarantee that it will work. Think about who are the major consumers of those trees. I think for some time it was Kenya Power. We don't know whether they will continue being the major consumers of that. I think they're moving towards concrete poles. So there's a risk that you might not have a market when you need the money. Or there could be a risk that, okay, in Kenya, we rarely have fires, but probably there could be fires, or there could be a pest that come and destroys your tree, or whatever it is. The point is that should be more of an alternative or additional source of income, because there's so many factors you're not in control of. So you don't want to assume that that is where you'll get the guaranteed income that you need to cater for your living expenses or your medical expenses. So I would say go ahead. Actually, the best thing to do for retirement income is to ensure that you have different sources. Don't just put your eggs in one basket. So plant some trees, but also be in the retirement benefit scheme. Get into a bond. And if you want to do some business, if you want to farm for your food, ensure that you can do it at your home. So diversify, but think through about what are the potential risks? What is the worst that could happen with this particular source of income? And therefore, if it is a bit risky, then ensure that it is not the one you're leaning on for your guaranteed income. It is more for the windfalls or the additional income that could help you boost your lifestyle.
Okay, thank you for that comprehensive answer. Washuka is saying very practical and articulated. Thank you and well done, Rose. Anne is saying, wow, extremely useful information. Then she has a question. How much is consultation on retirement planning and where do we find you, Rose?
Okay, so I normally help people through a process. It's usually a 6 weeks process, which we meet once a week for 2 hours. And through that process, one of the stages, we start by me getting to know you. That takes 2 hours. So I normally give you some tests to enable me know what kind of person you are, what is your financial personality, what is your risk profile, and then I have other tools I use to gather information about you. This helps me to be able to continue with the process. The second meeting, we meet and we look at your current financial situation. Where are you financially? What are your assets? What are your liabilities? What are your incomes and what are your expenses? And then from there, I run a few ratios that help us to see how you're doing in terms of finances. The third session, we meet to discuss your goals. Now, this is where many of us struggle a bit. We identify the things you'd want to achieve, both before retirement and into retirement. And then we clarify them and we also prioritize them. How do we achieve? What is most important? What do we achieve? Now, that process is quite interactive. And once we get the goals, we clarify them, prioritize them, we quantify them. Then we look at and make recommendations on how then you can use the resources that you have and hopefully additional resources that God will provide you with to achieve your goals. So that is where now we talk about savings, we talk about investments, we talk about the products that you need to take. And then from there, we move on to the last session. Usually there's something that we need to address. For some people, it is their work. Maybe you're in a work environment, you're not sure whether this will take you into retirement, or you really don't want to be where you are. Or for some people, they're probably approaching retirement and their main concern is what will they do with their time. And some people probably they want to go into other things like giving or volunteering. We just address a specific issue. And also for some, what might be very urgent is thinking about how do I pass or how do I plan my finances to be able to pass them to the next generation. So that makes 6 weeks. And for that, I charge 45,000. Whether you come in as an individual or as a couple, I encourage those who are married to do this process with their couple. I mean, as a couple, because that enhances communication and they're able to align their goals and chances of meeting those goals are higher. I require 50% of that at the start, and then the other 50% is normally paid at the end of the 4th session. I don't know if we have any of my clients here who might want to say anything about it. I know I saw a few, but I don't want to pick names. If you'd like to share your experience about the process, I would welcome you to do that.
Okay, thank you, Rosa, for a volunteer. I can just continue with a few questions. Helen is saying, recording of the presentation, please. We'll send this after the session, and also more details on how to get a hold of the book. Doris says thank you. So thank you, Rose, for answering the questions very well, and also sharing with us the information you have today. A question from Anne Joroge. She's asking, how can one practically determine their cost of life or lifestyle in retirement? Say I'm anticipating to get married, have kids, etc., etc., and they are not there yet. How do you determine what to save now?
So that sounds like a very young person who is not yet married, not yet started a family. One of the things that we encourage you to do when you're at that stage is to save at least 10% of your income for the long-term goals, which include retirement. So you can start by joining a retirement benefit scheme, save as much as possible. And then as these things become clear as you progress in your career, then it will be clear on how much you need to. But you can save 10% of your income or more into long-term goals and 10% of your income into short-term goals. So short-term goals are those things you need to do within a year. But long-term are things that you want to do in 5, 7, 10 years and above.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I think breaking down short-term and long-term, very important. Also, thank you for giving us a breakdown of the cost. I think of a culture of fearing and not asking, what will this take from me? So thank you for highlighting that. We have one testimonial here that I'll read from one of your clients. Her name is Tweedly Itiga. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Went through the process with Rose, and we can attest that we are now more goal-oriented and clearer on what to work on. The consultation fee was worth it. Consider it to be a small fee that will help you avoid heartache and losses in future. Will help you avoid heartache. I think I like that part. So thank you for that testimonial, Tweedly.
May I add
Thank you,
that
Tweedly.
testimonial as well? My name is Helen. I'm actually in the process of going through the sessions with Rose, and I think I've done 4. And it is not what I expected when I got into it, but I have found that it really is helpful in focusing me and my goals, and giving insight that I had never thought of before, and motivating me to take action on financial matters, some of which I have been procrastinating for a long time. And I think within the few weeks we have been sitting with Rose, I think I have already recouped my fee, because through her suggestions, I was able to shift some of my little investments which I had let lie dormant, kind of. And I would recommend this course, and I don't think I can recommend it highly enough. It has been good for me, and I am looking forward to a better stage in my financial life, at least more focus, with more understanding, with many insights, particularly insights about giving, and some areas one tends to put on the back burner. And I can recommend that to whoever wants to actually sort out their financial affairs as they progress in life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen.
Rose, hello.
Hello.
I don't really get that investment of medical post-retirement.
Okay.
For post-retirement, yeah.
I'll briefly mention it, but I think we'll have a session dedicated to it soon. So a post-retirement medical fund is a new development in our retirement benefits. So basically what it aims to achieve is to recognize that in retirement, medical expenses are one of the largest areas you'll put your finances in. So Retirement Benefits Authority changed the laws to enable you to save for your retirement alongside as you save for your retirement income. So this is a product that would ride on your pension scheme. So as you are saving for retirement, you also save for medical expenses or money that you can use to pay medical insurance. So it's like an add-on to your pension scheme. So for those who are saving, their savings are below the tax-free limit of 20,000 per month. And of course, depending on your salary, it shouldn't be more than 1/3 of your salary. Then you can actually make those savings tax-free. So think of a bank account. Most bank accounts have that. You have your main account, and then it has a savings account attached to it. So that is what a post-medical retirement fund is. So it gives you an opportunity to save for your medical expenses in retirement along, as you work, as you save towards your retirement. So it enjoys those tax advantages. It is invested in the same way as your retirement benefits, and you can actually get it within your scheme, or you can even get it with another provider. You're not tied to your scheme. So I would encourage you to stay tuned. We will be discussing it soon. But you can also share your email address. I can send you some brief write-up on it and on how you can maybe probably start engaging your pension provider to find out whether they have it. But think of it as an add-on where you're specifically saving towards your medical expenses in retirement. And when that time comes, you can join you can pay premiums from that fund, or should you incur actual medical expenses, you can actually pay out of that fund.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. It's 7, but we'll just take 10 more minutes to conclude everything fully. There is one more testimonial in the chat box. I'll read this later, but first I'll ask Beatrice to just unmute and speak. She wanted to say something. She's one of your clients.
Yeah, hi everyone, Beatrice here. I'm a recent graduate of Rose's school. There's a hope, there's hope and meaning to everything in the process that really excites me. In fact, I remember the very first 3-4 sessions, I would sleep quite late, just thinking through the discussions and coming up with some ideas. And when I meet her again, we're able to share. So I'll encourage anyone on this call to really think about it. It's worthwhile. It's rejuvenating. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. Beatrice graduated last week on Thursday, and she's been one of my greatest encouragements. All my clients are great, but Beatrice would spend the midnight oil and read. She read a book, I think, in 2 or so weeks. And yeah, thank you, Beatrice.
Okay, thank you for that, Beatrice. I got disconnected a bit. We had a power outage, but now I'm back. So I'll just read one more from BD, who says, I am one who also went through the process and have been well equipped as a young person where I could invest with long-term goals in mind. Plus, the sessions are very interactive. Well done, Rose. Yeah, I think it's good to hear from the other side, from people who've gone through this. And thank you for giving us those testimonials and feedback. Again, just a question from Elizabeth Moshiri. How much consultation fee? I think we'll share a breakdown in an email after the meeting. Details of location, please. Very informative, appreciated. Rose, you can just talk through that briefly, because you had answered this before.
Okay, so BD is a young man. We call him Big Dev. He's, sorry to share your age, but he's below 25. So this process is for everyone, not just for those who are approaching retirement. The cost is 45,000, and we meet 6 weeks, once a week for 2 hours. Like Regina has said, we'll share the full details of the cost and what is covered in the process.
Okay, thank you. Penny is saying, besides the slides, can you kindly share the recording, please? Yes, we'll do that. We'll put for you a YouTube link where you can watch everything and also just take your own notes and internalize all the content. Then Doris is asking, are the sessions conducted virtually or in person?
For those who can make it in person, I've realized there is greater value to do them in person. So I'm normally based in Vienna Court. This is near State House. We're on State House Crescent Road or near AIC Milimani Church. However, I've been able to conduct such sessions with people who are even outside the country. So we've also done virtual meetings. However, the quality is not the same. There's a lot to learn from being able to see somebody's body language and all that. So I would encourage those who can make it in person to do it. Those who cannot, then we can discuss and arrange for virtual meetings.
Okay, thank you. Just a few more testimonials. Anne Ngete is saying, as a person on the other side of retirement, all I can say is that it most certainly comes sooner than you think. I feel like I just started work the other day. Now I'm retired. Smiley face. Thanks for this great intervention. You are preparing our young people. Thanks for this great intervention. You're preparing our young people with Rose.
Yeah, Anyede is, she's one of my coaches. She was very instrumental and she helped me a lot when I was transitioning from employment into business. So Anne, you can also take this as an evidence of a job well done from your end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Martha is saying, I'm a client. I'm on session 3 out of the 6. Very beneficial. Mostly thinking through areas of life, and yeah, recommending it too. Thank you for that, Martha.
Thank you, Martha.
Yeah, maybe one of the last questions from Lucy, who's asking, do you have a booster? I'm not sure what this word is. A booster action to check whether sessions are bearing fruit.
Do I have a booster what?
Let me just spell AEASION. Do you have a booster action to check whether sessions are bearing fruit? Should it be aeration? I don't know if Lucy you want to unmute. But basically, how do you assess whether your sessions are bearing fruit?
Okay, booster sessions. Okay, I can see she's responded. So basically what we do is that from the beginning, we set out the goals that we want to achieve. And by the end of the session, we also check to see whether we have achieved the reasons why the person came to see me. So one of the things that would definitely tell us whether we are on course, for some people, it will require that they take a certain product to help them achieve the goal that they need. For example, if you are holding your money in cash and it's not earning you money, we can increase your income by investing it. If you are lagging behind, probably in terms of retirement preparation, there are certain products you can take to accelerate that growth. If your income is not diversified, there are things we can do to ensure that you're getting income from multiple sources. So yes, we have objectives at the beginning and we are able to evaluate whether we have achieved them in 6 weeks. But beyond that, we do have annual reviews where we now again meet after 1 year and we look at where we are and whether things went as planned or we need to modify that. So some results are instant, but a lot of results will also come with time. I do have sort of free consultation along the way. If it's not something that will require a lot of time, probably if I can't answer your question in 30 minutes, probably you need to pay for a booster session. But for majority of consultations, I'll normally do them for free until the annual review.
Okay, thank you for that, Rose. I think this brings us to the end of the meeting. You can just give us our closing remarks, then Daniel will pray for us.
Right. I just want to thank you all for being here. And today I can see many of my clients who are here. With people like Joyce Mutungi, many. Maggie Gishoki, amongst others. For those who are joining us for the first time, we normally have these meetings every second Thursday of the month, where we discuss various issues on retirement, and most of it is basically borrowed from the book, but I try to expound a little bit more. For those who have read the book, if you know somebody who would benefit from the book, please encourage them to get the book or buy one for them and gift them. And I will be holding a session before the end of this week, end of this month, to discuss financial planning. Yes, we are doing retirement planning, which is part of financial planning. And what I'll be trying to do is to demonstrate what I am doing with the clients, the ones who've given the testimonials and my past clients. So if you'd be interested to see how financial planning and retirement planning works, please be on the lookout or go to our website, www.retirementsolutions.co.ke, and request that we invite you for this invitation, especially if you're not in our mailing list. But I want to thank you very much for taking your time to be here and to stay until the end of this. And I pray that all will be well. And as you plan your finances, I pray that God will lead you and that ultimately you'll have the desired retirement lifestyle that you want to have. But that will come by planning and actualizing your plan as we put all this in God's hands and rely on his wisdom to achieve them. So thank you very much. Back to you, Regina.
Thank you, Rose. I've posted your contacts on the chat box, both your email and phone number. People can get to you directly, and also how to get a copy of the book. Now, as we come to a close, again, thank you, everyone. It was good having you this evening. Daniel, you can please pray.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Regina. Let us turn to the Lord in prayer. Lord, we are grateful to you this evening. It's so good to be here. It's so good to have this session just to learn of these things that some of us indeed would attest and say, oh, it's issues that we sort of like really think we know. Sometimes we think we have it all figured out, but we still don't have a lot to do and a lot to learn, oh God. And so thank you for the privilege, Lord, of just having this platform to learn these things. I thank you for all who indeed, by your grace and enablement, found time, oh Lord, and space to be able to make it for this meeting. Lord, would you bless each and every one of us? And I thank you for us. And thank you for the time, oh Lord, that you took to prepare this material for us. I pray, oh Lord, that you would continually, Lord, refresh her and bless her. May you establish the work of her hand. May your favor continue being with her. I thank you for Regina, who's indeed led us so well, and for the rest of us, oh God. The things that we have learned here, oh God, I pray that you'd press this truth, oh Lord, upon our hearts and our minds, oh Lord, that it would not be in vain that we came. May it not be that, Lord, we simply listen, oh Lord, and forget, oh God, rather, the things we learned, but rather would you help us, oh God, to pick a thing or two, oh Lord, and indeed implement, oh Lord. And thank you for many, oh Lord, who indeed are interested, oh Lord, in sessions with Rose. I pray, oh Lord, that in accordance to your will, oh God, you would make this happen, oh Lord, and indeed that these sessions would be impactful, oh God, to the ends that many more would indeed be able to be helped in these areas as their needs, oh Lord. And so, Lord, I pray also as we attend to the rest of the activities of the rest of the night, Lord, would you be with us, oh God, give us a good night rest, oh Lord, and even as we think, oh Lord, and as Rose prepares, Lord, the next session, I pray, oh God, that you'd give our insights, even revelations, give our, Lord God, ideas, oh Lord, on areas that she perhaps touch on that would indeed be of benefit to us. I pray this, Lord, trusting and believing in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you too.